Super Rugby round 13 predictions. Jeez, how good was round 12, guys? Guys, again in this standard video, I'll give you my preview and predictions of the 4 games of Super Rugby in round 13, and then stick around till the end and I'll give you a summarised set of predictions. So game 1, we have the Fijian Drua versus the Blues in Suva, Fiji. That's going to be an absolute belter. I can't wait to watch that game, particularly those games in Fiji. I just love the conditions over there, even the way the fields are, the grass, and you just don't know. Is it going to be torrential rain in Suva, or is it going to be humidity? And yeah, just very different conditions. But you look at both teams. Firstly, you look at the Drua at home and that home crowd. That'll certainly help the Fijian Drua. They're having a bit of an up and down sort of season, aren't they, really, I feel. You know, their attack is there and thereabouts, but I just feel, you know, a number of games, their defence just goes missing at certain times. You look at the game just last night, the Fijian Drua versus the Reds. I think, obviously, a good win to the Drua, but I think the Reds probably didn't play as well as they would have liked. They missed some tackles that I would have thought they would have made. And that Drua, you know, look, they've always had it on attack. You know, they get a few phases together, they can offload, they're good athletes, they break tackles. So, but again, that Drua defence against the Reds, particularly in the rolling mauls, was quite lacking. I think if you look to the Blues though, guys, and particularly that Blues game against the Western Force, obviously the Blues won it quite comfortably in the end, but yeah, the Blues defence is solid, but guys, let me know your thoughts on this. I just really don't know about their attack, honestly. I just feel their attack just feels like they're trying to muscle it up in the forwards, and then they don't know when they're going to muscle it up physically and then when to shift it. It just looks like their attack looks confused a bit. So, yeah, back to the drawing board, I feel, for Vern Cotter, but, you know, a good win there. Looking at this game, though, look, ultimately, in summary, I just don't think that the Blues are quite there yet. I don't think they know their simple attack structure. Their defence is not quite there still yet, especially against the Drua. So I'm going to go a big one there. The Drua to win this by 13 points at home. A pretty good win to the Drua. Let me know your thoughts on that prediction down below. You're enjoying the previews and predictions. Support the channel. Hit the subscribe button. Like, comment, and share it with your mates, and chuck some banter down below for this channel. It's been good, the banter, lately. Game number 2, the Waratahs versus the Reds at Allianz Stadium in Sydney. Obviously, a home game in Sydney for the Waratahs, and yeah, obviously, it'll be a cracking game there. Home game advantage for them there. I think if you look at, firstly, the Waratahs, yeah, they're a bit up and down, aren't they? Obviously, they didn't win against the Brumbies last night. I just feel, you know, their attack's there and thereabouts, but they just seem to, on defence, they go missing a little bit at times. And their attack, like, if it clicks, it's really effective. Joseph Suaalii having an absolute blinder this season, but just probably not enough of it. But look, the Waratahs will be looking to bounce back against the Brumbies game. And then look, you look at the Queensland Reds. I've been so impressed by them. Obviously, Les Kiss at the helm. Les Kiss announced as future Wallabies head coach. Let me know your thoughts on him taking over there. I seriously rate Les Kiss as a coach. And obviously, the Reds, look, I think they're still there and thereabouts. I think they're going to be finalists in the Super Rugby comp. I think they just had an off night against the Drua in Fiji. You know, a number of, as I've said, missed tackles that I would have expected them to make. But I think that the Reds, I really like their game structure, the way they play with their forwards, they shift the ball into space, in their attack structures, their defence structures. I think they're a really, really well-drilled side in Super Rugby. Ultimately, I think I can see this game being quite close in the first half, but I just think that Les Kiss's men will be too strong in this game. Queensland Reds to win this by 10 points, guys. Let me know your thoughts on that prediction. Game 3, the Crusaders vs versus the Chiefs at Apollo Project Stadium in Christchurch. Whoo! You know, two top New Zealand teams coming against each other. Does it get any better than this? This is going to be an absolute belter of a game. And surely this game will be sold out in Christchurch. Canterbury people, they love their rugby, so hopefully the stadium is sold out. I think if you look at the Crusaders, jeepers, you know, they're coming off a bye week. That'll certainly help them, you know, fresh for this game. And you know, I just refer to this game, and even Jeff Wilson mentioned it on the breakdown. You know, the Crusaders versus the Highlanders a few weeks back, you know, they were just absolutely magnificent, I thought, guys. Let me know your thoughts on the Crusaders down below. Particularly what's scary about the Crusaders is they're getting that Crusaders of old defence coming back. And particularly against the Highlanders, you just saw phase after phase. I think I saw between 4 to 6 attacking sets from the Highlanders of probably 15 plus phases, guys. And just throwing everything at the Crusaders. And that Crusaders team, they just work so cohesively well, and just the desperate, the physicalness on defense, they were just superb, the Crusaders. And then the scary thing about the Crusaders, just coming back to the Crusaders of old, you know, their attack, it was accurate, and they took their chances when they were on offer. Just like the Crusaders of old with the Razor era, where they won countless championships in a row. Like I've said, the Crusaders are looking a very dangerous and scary side to opposition. I think you look at the Chiefs, and yeah, look, if I had recorded this video 3 days ago, I would have probably said the Chiefs were much better than what they are. But particularly that Chiefs game last night against the Hurricanes. Yeah, I think for me, the big difference there was Damian McKenzie out. And particularly, I think what Damian McKenzie brings to the Chiefs' attack and defence, you know, his game management and driving that back line and forward pack around the field is particularly effective. So with him out, and assuming he's going to be out against the Crusaders, I think that's a significant loss to the Chiefs. And you just saw that last night. Like, it was quite a big loss to the Hurricanes. Quite a surprise there. I didn't predict that either. But yeah, so this one, I just think with Damian McKenzie out, I haven't seen enough from the Chiefs with their attack structure. I just think they're really lacking in their game management. Again, that Crusaders side, they just look absolutely magnificent at the moment. This game, I'm going to go the Crusaders by 5 at home. But again, it could easily be more, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Crusaders win this by 20. So let me know your thoughts on that, guys. Game 4, the Force versus the Brumbies at HBF Park in Perth. Ooh, this is going to be an absolute belter. Now, what I like about this, I really like the Perth games, particularly travelling all the way over to Perth, different time zone, Western Australia, and that Force side, on their day, they're particularly, you know, they bring their physicality, they can execute the ball into space. They're a dangerous side. Nick White, you know, he's a quality halfback. I think firstly you look at both sides. Start with the Brumbies. Obviously the Brumbies coming off a very good win against the Waratahs just last night. I just really like the mix of the Brumbies. You know, the physicality they bring up front. Noah Lolesio at fly half, the way they're shifting the ball into space. Yeah, just really accurate and a really well-drilled clinical side. They're scoring a number of tries of 15 plus phases. Yeah, I really like the mix that Stephen Larkham has for the Brumbies there. I think if we then look at the Force, yeah, look, obviously this is going to be a home game for them, so home ground advantage for them. But yeah, again, they didn't have a good couple of games in New Zealand. Obviously lost to the Blues. Yeah, again on their day, they bring that physicality, they shift the ball into space. And yeah, Carlo Tizzano, he is having an absolute blinder of a season. I'm really expecting him to be in the Wallabies squad against the Lions in the coming months. And yeah, look, the Force are a dangerous, dangerous side. But from me, I can see this game being close at half time. But, you know, as I've said, the Brumbies at the moment are my top Australian side. And I just think when the pressure comes on, the Brumbies will, you know, they just have that clinical accuracy. They'll execute 15, 20, 25, 30 phases to score when they need to. So, prediction there, the Brumbies to win this by 10 points. Let me know your thoughts on that prediction, guys. So, in summary of all 4 rounds, so the Fijian Drua versus the Blues at Suva. But prediction there, the Drua to win that pretty comfortably at home by 13 points. I just don't think the Blues are quite there yet. The Waratahs versus the Queensland Reds in Sydney. I think the Reds will win that by 10 points. I just like the way the Reds are looking with Les Kiz. And then the Crusaders versus the Chiefs, an absolute New Zealand derby in Christchurch. Crusaders to win that by 5 points at home. And then finally, the Force versus the Brumbies. I have the Brumbies to win that in Perth by 10 points. Guys, let me know your thoughts on these matches. What do you think of my predictions? Again, chuck some banter, chuck some comments down below. And if you've enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button, like the video, and again, add some banter about my previews and predictions for round 13. Cheers.